And so I think it's important that you understand the clinical trial process. I'm not saying that the pill is bad. I just want you to think about how to make health decisions for yourself. You want to be especially vigilant, especially staying on top of it. Once I got the information I needed, I started to move in that direction about how to make health decisions for yourself.
In your mind, what would you say to brothers that's not vaccinated or just people in general?
I'm glad to hear you are protected, and thanks for being so honest here on Keeping It 100, because that's what we do.
Hey, welcome to Keeping It 100, where we have these open and honest conversations to make sure you are making good health decisions. I am your host, Dr. Kristin Motley, and as always, we have a really good show in store for you today. I am joined by my wonderful co-host, the street practitioner himself, Georgie Mink Jr.
That would be me.
What up, G?
How you doing, Doc? What's going on?
I'm good. What you been up to? I know school is about to end for a nice break. Y'all just came off break, and you about to go to a break. And I know kids start to get riled up when they know it's time to go on break. But how you holding up?
I'm holding up, Doc. I'm still here.
Still here.
My therapist's not with me today. They couldn't make it, but I'm just doing great. I'm good though, Doc. I'm good. I'm in good spirits. All right,
good. Now we was starting the setup for the show, and you were talking about a Tdap vaccine and looking at me all sideways, and I was like, save it for the show.
Right. Okay.
So what you got for me?
Number one, I need to know what is it?
How'd it come up?
What is it to prevent? I recently, our son just had a baby.
Congratulations, Pop. You did not tell me that.
Her name Harley.
Yeah,
her name was Harley.
That is so cute.
But they was like telling us they needed the shot, and Tracy was saying, I have to get this Tdap, and I'm like, since when?
Okay.
People been having babies for years. I never heard of it. Why is it mandatory now? And what happened since 2000, till today that we need that, or it's so mandatory to be around the baby or to come to the hospital?
That's a good question. Good question. So you actually received the DTaP vaccine when you were a child, because we all did. It's about 4 or 5 shots in that series that you receive throughout your childhood.
Okay.
And what they realize is that the protection that it provides wears off over time. And so when you turn 11 years old, the recommendation now is to get a Tdap vaccine. And so that's TDAP. You get it when you're 11. But what we also know that is pregnant women are at higher risk of having pertussis, which is the P in Tdap. And so pertussis is it's an infection that can cause coughing. And for some people, it can be deadly because of the type of infection it is.
Really?
But it's have you ever heard of the whooping cough?
Yes.
Pertussis is the same thing as the whooping cough.
Okay.
The technical term for it is pertussis.
But what I'm saying is why now, though, Doc?
Well, because through time, we look at what's taking place, and we learn that pregnant women have a higher chance of getting and exposing their child to it. And when children get pertussis or whooping cough, it's a problem, and it can be deadly. And so the recommendation is for the pregnant mom to get the Tdap vaccine to protect the baby while they're pregnant and through birth, and then people around that child need to also protect the child, and they also need to get the Tdap vaccine to protect them from exposing the child to whooping cough and possibly killing them.
So what, I can't go around the baby to them too?
I mean,
to the babies too?
It's up to the child's parents.
Wow.
So when I had Bria and when I had Noah, I had to get the Tdap for both pregnancies. So it's recommended, I think it's recommended at week 28. It's like week 28 to week 35 or something like that. Wow. So I got it for both pregnancies. And then I told my parents, that, they had to get up to date on their Tdap to protect the baby. So it's not about you and what you want to do. It's about Harley.
Right.
We got to protect Harley, Pop.
I still haven't seen her yet.
That's because you ain't got your
Only seen
Tdap.
Pictures.
You wouldn't have seen her?
I have not
You need to
seen
go
her
get your
yet.
Tdap.
She don't know me.
She will. She will.
But
she gonna know she got a great grandfather.
Right. But I'm just saying, it was just like, wow, like it just was like I never heard of it.
Yeah.
Before.
So it's a recommendation. I can't remember how old it is. Probably at least 10 or 15 years old that they started to recommend that pregnant women get it during, I think it's 28 to 35 weeks of pregnancy. I wish I had Dr. Thomas on today to back me up.
Oh, yeah.
But to protect the child, the caregivers have to also get the vaccine. And so Bilal had to get it as well.
Really?
But you only get it once every 10 years. So it provides you 10 years of protection.
Okay.
So it's just once every 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
So are you gonna go get your Tdap?
I mean, I'm going to have to if I want her to know me.
There you go.
Yeah,
and you might have to get your COVID shot while you at it.
Yeah, it's time. I'm ready. We got enough tested. Yeah,
We got enough.
Yeah.
Let's get caught up, y'all. Let's definitely get caught up.
We can go now.
It's a lot of bugs spreading around. I just heard about a young child having RSV. People got COVID. The flu is spreading around. So everybody get caught up, get up to date on all your vaccines, and you can get them all at the same time. You really could. You don't have to. If you want to spread them out, you can. But the more convenient you can make it for yourself, the better you'll be.
All right. Shout out to Leslie, who's still holding on from her shot.
Yes, Les is still here. It took her 152, keeping it 100 episodes to get vaccinated. But
shout out to sis over
thanks
there.
be to God, the child is vaccinated. She's alive. She's well. Oh my gosh, her arm hurt for a couple days.
Yeah,
but she made it. She is caught up. She is caught up. So, yeah, it is time that we learn and we ask these questions. So I'm glad that you brought that question up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that you brought it up. So now you know.
I'm observing.
Now you know.
Like, yo, wait a minute.
It's to protect Harley, is what it is, because kids can't fight the whooping cough as well as adults can.
Copy. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it.
That's all. Now you said something else about a brother got a theory about something.
Oh yeah, he said the COVID thing was a scam. Because we back to normal, and
we back to normal because of these vaccines.
He never got the shot, and, he never got vaccinated. And they just used it. Brothers always come up with stuff.
Yeah, and it's easy to come up with stuff. So I mean, I don't have anything to say against that because that's what he believes.
Right.
But what the research and what we have proof of is that people, people started to survive. They weren't going to the hospital with COVID. They weren't dying from COVID once we got people vaccinated. That's what we can actually prove.
Right.
So, I mean, people are entitled to how they feel, but, I tell people to acknowledge your feelings because your feelings are real, but you got to balance that with some real information too. You can't just be 100% on how you feel about things. You gotta read, you have to ask questions, talk to people that you know and trust, and then make a determination. But just going off your feelings is not enough.
And like I told him, you probably already had COVID. Bro.
Everybody probably had COVID.
Everybody in America already had it already. If you had the vaccination or not.
Yeah.
I said that's fine, but without the vaccination, we would not have been open. We'd probably be like a third world country by now.
Listen,
and so
it'd have been a real struggle for a lot of people.
Be thankful for the folks that invented the vaccination. Shout out to the doctors and the scientists that put everything together and put everything on hold.
Especially Dr. Kizzy Corbett, the black doctor that worked with the NIH, that led the NIH and collaborated with Moderna to come out with the Moderna vaccine. So shout out to Dr. Kizzy.
Right. And that's shout out to Dr. Kizzy. Like I told him, we got to just come out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
I understand it, but I said, brother, that's not correct. That's one thing that I do know, that's not correct. So there was no reason for them to scam us. Nobody wanted to be inconvenienced like that.
Not all them people dying. They had people in trucks. You couldn't even have funerals. It was a real thing that was happening before our eyes.
Come on, y'all.
But, I can respect
To
why
each his
people
own.
wouldn't want
To
to
each his
believe
own.
because
Right.
we've been told so many lies.
Right.
So I understand why people don't want to believe. I'm not going to judge anybody for that.
Right.
I'm just saying to balance it with some factual information and then make a
Right.
determination.
I mean, he was going back. I mean, it was like a court case.
Nope.
And I'm like,
It's
come on, brother.
no. You were trained not to do that.
Right.
So you shouldn't even going back and forth
but
with
it
him.
just caught me off guard. that,
you wasn't
know,
ready.
No.
You
he
ain't have
snuck
on
me,
your health
Doc. He
educator
snuck me.
shirt?
No, he snuck me.
He
He
snuck
snuck me, Doc.
Shut
But,
up.
Yeah, but shout out to my brother, man. His name Ken. What's up, man?
Thanks for sharing.
It's
your
okay. And he said he was
opinions,
going to watch today. I told him I was going to get on him today a little bit on the show.
It's all good.
But yeah.
It's all good. Well, I do want to remind people that the government is giving free tests to people, COVID tests. They are reopening the website. It's been open for, I guess, a couple months now. So you can go to covid.gov/test to get your free test mailed to you. Everyone is entitled to it. So you're looking for tests, do not go to the pharmacy and spend your money. Just go right to covid.gov/test and get your free test mailed to you. Also wanted to mention that there will be free mammograms in Chester at the 5th Street location for the health department. So make sure women, ladies, you go out and get your free mammograms. The information is on the flyer. You'll see it on the screen. So make sure you go out and take advantage of the free mammograms that are taking place this upcoming Monday, December, 4th? What day is it? Is it the 4th? Yep.
Okay.
Right on 5th Street at the health department location there. You do need to register, so call the number on the flyer, 484-276-2100. Call that number or send the email and get registered, but you don't need insurance, which I love. And you don't need a prior diagnosis of breast cancer or anything. Just go out and get your mammogram. Take care of yourself, because it is these prevention things that will save our lives. So please do it. Also want to mention that it's open enrollment for Medicare and for people that don't have insurance. So you want to go get insurance through the state. You can get that by going to pennie.com, PENNIE. If you're from Pennsylvania, if you're not from Pennsylvania, you can put in the state that you live in and healthcare marketplace, and that should get you to your state's website. I think you can go to healthcare.gov too. Healthcare.gov will also connect you to your state's marketplace. So actually do that. Don't do a Google thing, because then you'll get caught up on everybody's ads and everybody trying to sell you something. You're going to click on something. It's going to be the wrong thing, and you're going to blame me for it. Healthcare.gov is where you go if you do not have insurance, regardless of where you live. The deadline to sign up is December 15th, so make sure you get signed up in time so you can have coverage that starts on January 1st. So this is people that don't have insurance. G, I know you looked into it before, but it was expensive, you were saying.
Yeah, I applied for one of those style coverages where you can just sign up for it and they find you like the best coverage.
Okay.
And I think I was paying like $2 something a month.
That's not bad.
Which really
that's actually
wasn't
less than what
bad.
I pay.
Like $2.20
That's
a
good.
month. But it came with you really have to read the fine print to
Yes.
see what it includes, though.
That's important.
Yeah, so it didn't include like certain things, only like a certain amount of eye visits and the
okay.
dental. So you have to be like real like meticulous and just make sure that you're getting proper coverage for whatever your style of living is. So
That's true. That's
Right.
true. So how you making out with your blood pressure?
actually, it's been good. Like I've been checking it. I slowed down on the drinking.
Okay. That's a big move. That's a big move.
But that was a big part of like the lifestyle. Just every now and then, still thinking that it's okay.
Yeah.
But just working on that and just better health. It's just hard. Like when I'm working like all day, to concentrate on eating healthy.
It's
So
hard.
you're just eating on the run. I'm eating pieces of pizza.
Whatever you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to keep it going
Yeah.
and keep the energy. But other than that, like the blood pressure has been well.
I didn't hear your number though.
I'm not
You
really
telling
sure.
me, people do this to me all the time. I be like,
Like,
how your
something
A1C?
over
How your
something
sugar
over-
doing? How you Oh, it's good. It's good. I need
Yeah, what's
numbers.
something over something. I don't know.
No, that is not what I'm trying to hear.
I know. I'm gonna have an exact number. Actually, you could do the blood pressure on our show next week.
G, you always, you a game artist. Where is your blood pressure?
I don't know.
So how you know it's
You got
good?
it in the car.
How you know it's good?
It was though. No, I'm saying it was. Seriously, it was.
You need to know, and you need to know
That's
your
true.
numbers. You need to know your numbers.
That's true.
Have you taken
Actually,
your meds?
I'm gonna get it done like in school and stuff. To school.
I don't
shit.
believe you. Have you been taking your medication?
No, I haven't.
But your blood pressure is good.
It was.
Even though you're
Seriously,
not taking
it. Was. Yeah.
Have you rescheduled your appointment with your doctor?
No.
All right. So you got a little bit of work to do.
I got some work to
Just schedule your appointment.
I got some
Let them
work to
check
do.
you
I had
out.
a rough-
Hopefully
I
your
had
blood
a rough
pressure is
30
good.
days though.
I know you've been doing a lot
Yeah.
and been through a lot.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep going through and having rough days, you need to
That's
make sure
true.
you're
That's
taking
true.
care, or you ain't gonna have to worry about no days.
That's true.
Because heart disease is real
That's true.
and it doesn't
this
have
seat will
symptoms.
Be empty, and we'll just be, showing my clips and stuff. And
George was a good man,
right
y'all.
there. Oh man, street practitioner. Oh man.
So
Yeah.
please, Jay, please. All right, so just kind of along those same lines, I know everyone knows Kel Mitchell. Kel from, what was that show? What was that movie? Whataburger?
Oh yeah, Good Burger.
Good Burger.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
Burger.
Oh yeah, Keenan and Kel.
Keenan and Kel. Yeah,
Yeah.
that show, Nickelodeon. So he was in the hospital recently. He had felt like the room was spinning. He was starting to go numb. He couldn't swallow. And he took himself to the hospital. So I thought, I don't know how safe it was for him to drive himself, but I'm glad he sought medical care. He paid attention to his symptoms and what he was experiencing. He took it seriously. But a lot of those symptoms sound like stroke symptoms. So I wanted to remind people, especially around the holidays, people drinking, they partying, they eating. You got to still pay attention to your body. And stroke is a huge killer, especially in the African American community. So we want to make sure that you know the signs and symptoms of a stroke. If you feel any numbness, if you feel your speech impairment, your vision changes, you have some drooping of your face on one side, you have any tingling and numbness on one side, like your right arm and your right leg, or like your left arm and your left leg, that may be a sign of a stroke, and you take that seriously. You call 911 immediately. So that you can get the medication you need, because if you get there in time, they can help you better than they would if you wait too long. So please pay attention to your body, and all the partying and all the festivities, we got to pay attention. But we're glad that it was not a stroke for Kel. It was another condition that he had that kind of had a flare up.
Wow.
I think he had some kind of nerve compression problem, and the way that the nerve was compressed, it was causing those symptoms.
Wow.
So it wasn't a stroke for him, but a lot of the symptoms mimic what a stroke is. So I wanted to just bring a little bit of awareness to stroke. That's all.
Wow. Okay. Glad he's okay.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. But today we have a very, very special guest. She joined us before, and we had an amazing conversation. So I wanted her to come back. Soon-to-be Dr. Mary Eve May. She is a relationship therapist, but today she is here to talk about grief during the holidays. She specializes in trauma and violence. She works with people of all ages, and she also works with companies on leadership development, teamwork, cohesive teams. And so she's just multifaceted, amazing, and I am so honored that she drove all the way to Chester, Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. I have an affinity for Chester, so yes.
And she wore her orange. No, she didn't come up in here with some orange and black on. Yes,
sexy
she
little
understood
building.
this time. She don't even know she understood this time.
Chester.
Yes, yes.
19013.
Yes, come through. So thank you, Dr.
Welcome,
May, for
welcome.
being here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we kind of want to talk about, grief during the holidays. We know that for a lot of people, the holidays isn't as joyous for, as it is for others. G recently experienced a major loss in his family, so I'm sure that they are feeling it around this time. So we wanted to, to provide some insight and some tools to help our families get through this holiday season.
Awesome.
So in your experience, what are some of the triggers for people? And do you think it's important that people know what their triggers are?
Well, I think so. Society or the field has taught us to think about triggers. And triggers is like you're giving ownership to whatever the thing is that you're saying is triggering you.
Yeah.
So I want to just name and lift that up. Like, yes, there are triggers, but if we could just begin to reframe the reality around you're giving power to whatever that thing is that you're saying is the catalyst without owning responsibility, that you feel something in your mind, body, and spirit that's taking a hold and it's sending you a message. So recognizing that. And when you recognize that, you may also be honoring yourself and your body, but then also honoring the memory that you have of what it is and who it is that you felt that you have lost. Because we focus more so on them not being here physically, but we don't realize that they're still with us within our heart.
So should we be, trying to move away from the term trigger?
Eventually. Like, if we really want to be, like, for us, especially as melanated individuals, it took us a minute to even, identify and understand that mental health is an everyday occurrence, and it has a scale in which how we are impacted. And then when you look at grief, we have been grieving for a lot of things, but we usually only attach it to the physical loss of a loved one. However, there's grief that we deal with, again, on a day-to-day basis. So when you think about trigger, are you saying that every time that you are angry, that you had no personal responsibility on your emotions leveling up to anger? Or are you allowing the fact that you can't control how you feel or the reaction, or you don't like it because it's uncomfortable and inconvenient, that you want to name it as something else and then put whatever that trigger is as being responsible more than you?
Wow. So what about as far as, like, just knowing the holidays coming up, you can already, like, have the pre-notion in your mind that you're going to be sad. Like, you're already going to be upset. You're already going to be down. Can you basically talk yourself into it?
You just did.
Right.
Because you just told yourself, your brain does what you tell it. So if you tell your brain, oh, well, the holidays is coming up, X is no longer here, and because they're no longer here, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be crying, I'm going to drink a little bit more, I'm going to party a little bit more, or I'm going to spend a little bit more, because the grief doesn't always look like sadness. So the grief is like a shift in your behavior that you have. You're doing something different because this season is coming up, which this is a festive time of the year. There's a variety of reasons why people are celebrating, and you don't necessarily have to conform to what society is saying the calendar of what it should be. So if you are having a moment and the different dates on the calendar are triggering you or setting you off or making you feel like you should be doing something different, give yourself grace. Give yourself forgiveness, as opposed to just intentionally waking up and saying, oh, well, I have to be sad today because it doesn't look like it used to be.
That's really good. And I want to, so I have a friend whose husband was killed the day before Thanksgiving last year by his brother. They got into it and he shot him.
Layers.
And it was, and then he killed himself. So it was a whole entire thing. So I checked in on my friend. It's like, I know this time of year is tough for you. How are you feeling? And she was like, her response was, I am stating how I want to feel, so I feel great. And I was like, yes, I love that. I love that for her. I mean, she lost her husband. Yes, so that's the same thing that you were saying just now. Like, as soon as you said you're going to be sad, you're going to be sad.
Right. If you say you're going to be broke, you're going to be broke. If you say that somebody's going to hurt you, they're going to hurt you, because that's the energy that you're attracting. So if we were trying to manifest the harvest of love and wellness and just understanding that, yes, physically the person that we are missing is not here, they're still here in our spirit. They're still here, and we can still honor them, because we don't have to be stuck on the ceremony of separation, because we're separated only by physical nature, but not necessarily a spirit.
But sometimes can that go against us as well? Even though Doc was checking on her.
Absolutely.
That might be a trigger.
Absolutely.
Like, just with Doc already thinking it, like, oh, my friend is going to be going through it. She might have threw her in that mindset.
Might have threw her into it, definitely.
Right.
So I'm sorry.
No, go. No, I'm just trying to, like, see, like, just all avenues of it, because all she's doing is being a good friend, but it still might not be good for the person hearing it. Like I might be trying to block it out, and then Doc just checking on me.
Here
like,
I come.
George,
Here
you
you come.
I know it's
I
gonna
should
be
have kept
up.
my mouth
Unhappy
shut.
for
Right,
you.
right.
Oh, you know what? You're right, Doc. It is going to be unhappy for you. So now it is.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing about that is you know what your intention as the friend or family member calling. You can call. Don't mention it.
Right.
Allow them to mention it. Because even what you said, as she said, I'm going to speak how I want to feel, is possibly a mask that we as melanated cultures miss the cue all the time. Because we go with that, someone says that they're okay, and we just continue to just flow into whatever the conversation is. Sometimes it's consuming of ourselves and our goals and intention of the conversation, and we miss the mark of truly checking in on who we called. So it's like, call with no set intentions. Make sure that you're just calling. And give them the opportunity of the breathing room to open up the gates for you, and you to know how much room that you have and bandwidth emotionally for yourself that you could take on at that time.
So don't say anything.
Right.
You could
Wow.
check,
You
but
could
she's saying don't mention
Wow.
it to get them
To
the
see how
heads
that-
up. Because I
yeah,
know how
yeah.
that would feel like if I'm trying to block it out.
Yeah.
And like I said, you being a good friend or family member, whatever,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you already telling me how you think I should feel. Like, you should be upset at this time of year
Right.
because, and it's just like, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't
you
be trying to
yeah.
get over it. I shouldn't be thinking about being festive and, you're right, I am upset. So now you put me in that spot like, oh, you're right, okay, yeah. So
That's
then
good.
here comes the mask part. Oh, I'm great. But now you just set me back. I might have been working on that. So the
Yeah.
check-in could just be without using the verbiage.
Yeah.
And during the call,
Yeah.
we're a performance society. So if I know that people are calling to check on me, I'm going to make them think that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And say all of the things that's the right thing to say, but I really may be in shambles.
Right.
And as long as they don't ask the question, I don't have to perform or give them.
Right.
I don't have to give them the real deal about what's going on for me because I know what the cute things I can say to them, and they're going to shift the gears.
But is that okay though? But that person that's grieving
It's a
or
slippery
responding.
slope.
Yeah.
Because it might be their strength that is how they cope and how they're managing through whatever season that they're in of their grief. You have to know the person.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they're a person that we've always said, oh, they're strong, they bounce back or whatever, that's really the person you got to check in on. Because they know that that's how you see them, so they have to perform and give you the responses that you expect. Because not doing it, I'm embarrassed, I'm hurt, or if I'm not showing up the way that you want me to, then you're going to feel like you need to help me or I need something. And to me, that's feeling deficient. And nobody wants to feel deficient if they're that person that is always wearing a cape and doing things right. Yes, life happens, and we got to give that breathing room on all sides and kind of just read in the room. What does the room say that that person needs?
Right. And then we also get the famous quote, if you need me,
Right.
just call me, or just I'm always here. And it's just like, that's the worst thing for me. Like, not saying that it's not being receptive and being, I know like folks is just really caring, but I think it's the worst thing. Like going through your time, because everybody handles it differently.
Correct.
So it's just like, if you need me, so what that mean? I need you help me with my mortgage. What if I say
some
that?
groceries.
What if I say,
But can't you though?
I'm just saying, you just never know. Like, people don't be honest. So it's like, it just seems like this the thing to say.
But they don't mean it.
I hurt, right. And they probably do, but they're not expecting you to
really punch back and
really say, well, because what if I say I need my mom back? What if I say I need, it's going to be a dead end. So to me, it's like a dead end question, and you got to be mindful with things that you would be upset about yourself. It wouldn't be nothing that nobody could do if you're grieving. Of course they're grieving. Of course they're upset.
Yeah.
Of course they're not feeling good. Of course it might be that first holiday without that loved one or whatever the case may be.
And the year of the first is the worst.
Right. So it's just like, What can you actually do? Nothing. But check on me. I'm going to remember it. It is going to be better days. It is going to be times where I'm looking past it, and I'm going to remember that you did check on me. But I just know some people just take it offensive. Like, what mean? What can you do? What can you do for me? What you mean? What can you do? Like, it's like we say it though, in good spirit though, in good heart.
In good heart.
Nobody's being fake about that. But what do you mean when you say anything I can do? You know?
I think we would be better served in renaming the word need. Because depending on your family culture or how you were raised, needing something means I'm lacking. And whereas I might be, what you said, I said groceries, you said mortgage.
I mean, I'm
It could
just
be
thinking-
Car payment, my car payment.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
or a new job because the job is
right.
like
What if I start
tedious.
telling you the truth?
Right. What if I felt
Right.
safe enough to tell you
Yeah.
the truth?
Like-
Are you able to take it, and am I able to also receive it?
Right.
Because need is a question or a word that we also culturally just try not to say that at all, because we may, depend on how we navigate in the world, we looking at the news, we've heard maybe through another conversation you share where you're extended financially or whatever. So if you're asking me if I need anything, I can't begin to think about what's the thing that I could ask you, because you already told me you were overextended.
Right. Right.
They're not thinking that you might have phone numbers that you could call for other resources, but yeah.
Right.
So, what's the role of, say, self-care in grief? Is there space for self-care, and
Absolutely.
how does that look
Right.
for?
Explain that.
Well, see, self-care is different, and it's not something that you just put a coat on and you have a spa day, or you go get your nails or your hair done, or take a quick trip. Those things are a part of it, but that's the superficial. Self-care is really you having introspection and taking time away from your regular demanding schedule and just saying you're doing you. Whatever that is. Like, whatever that is. Now, some of the whatever it is could be unsafe, but we're not going to go all the way into that.
right.
But, like, self-care could be, I'm going to the park today. It's ducks at the park. I like to watch them, whatever, and just sit there in my thoughts. Or it could be I'm going to journal. It could be I'm going to play ball. I'm going to go play tennis. It could be something active. It could be something that's not so active. It could be I'm just sitting in the house and I'm okay. And if you're a person that's always on the go, sometimes you need to just turn off the world and just sit still. So it's like being mindful to what self-care means to you. I'm not dismissing that a good massage or that a good haircut or a night out with friends or whatever could be great, but you might also just need to check in with you, and that should be just really in your natural routine before grief happens. But when grief has impacted your life in some particular way, then you might want to say, okay, I did whatever self-care regimen maybe twice a month. I might need to add an additional thing or step it up so that I can get my mind right, my emotions right, my everything right, so that I can be successful in the other areas I need to go in.
Yeah, and I can imagine, and it may be a particularly challenging around the holidays when a person passes away, then all the family's coming around, and it could be exhausting because you're having to host, you're having to keep everything up, and not and be communicable, and so I can imagine that can be a lot on a person. And is it okay for a person to like step away from that? What do you typically would recommend to your clients?
I would say to them, like, if it's like I kind of want to use myself as an example because Thanksgiving was a holiday that I cooked for my family, right? And the thing about it was, okay, that was a holiday that I cooked for, that I prepared for. Everybody came to my house. None of my family lives in Pennsylvania, so that was a travel for them to get here. And then after the holiday, we shift gears into my birthday. So it was like a whole, like shimmy shaking, like celebration. So once my mom transitioned, which is now 2012, the dinner planning changed. I was still expected to do the dinner for my brother and my dad, which it did occur, and it was great. However, once my father transitioned in 2019, that is a part of the routines of life that doesn't exist for me any longer. And so, whereas my brother and my sister-in-law could possibly still have a ritual, life has kind of taken us in different ways. But when you're out and about in the world, everybody's like, oh, we gotta do dinner prep, we gotta get this ready. And I'm accustomed to making the whole shebang. And now I have to make nothing. I can go to Wawa and get a turkey bowl, or I can, be invited to a friend's house or whatever. It's a shift.
Yeah.
It's a definitely different shift. And I think that what I'm sharing this story to say is that you have to give yourself permission of the ebbs and flows of what's going to happen. That first year of my mom's transition, I was a total wreck. Because it was like, what? I'm not getting harassed about what's on the menu. She's not telling the doctors that she had surgery and she has to get to Philadelphia, so she don't care what regimen. I was gonna go to Virginia. Like, Mom, chill. No, she said, no, I have to be at my daughter's house because that was the ritual. But for me as the facilitator, the host, the one who enjoyed loving in that kitchen and making everything, you have to give yourself grace that just life is evolving differently, and you don't have to be the all. So maybe what I would say, to go to your question after me giving that story, I would say to the individual who may have had that type of role, either determine how you want to function moving forward. It doesn't have to continue to look like what it did. And maybe ask people to do like a potluck, or be honest. I'm not up for the entertaining, the coming out. If somebody wants to bring me a couple plates or whatever, be honest with what it is that you need and have that integrity about your love for self and self-care, because that's self-care, to say and know what your boundaries are. If you choose to go out, give yourself a time limit. Don't ride with anybody else, because what will happen is if you ride with somebody else, that has a double-edged sword. But if you ride with somebody else and they're not ready and you are, you're stuck.
Wow.
You feel obligated.
Yeah, you're on that time.
You're on their time. You're like, oh my God, they laughing. I don't want to go and say, yo, I'm ready to go now, because then I'm messing up their time. You have to travel how it's going to be best for you, or to even communicate, I'll ride with you to get there, but I'm going to take an Uber when I'm leaving. And when I decide that I'm leaving, family, don't guilt me that I'm leaving. Because
but you got to have those conversations, and it's not easy to just have real, honest conversations. But you're right. You do have to prepare them.
And they're not going to receive it, because we're accustomed to the
popping
and snapping, looking at football and dancing and, doing whatever card games that we do on those days, that it's going to be different for you. Because even now, if the family is good and you're good with being with everybody, then great. But just know what you could do. Yeah. And know that if you need to go upstairs and lay down for a second because it's getting overwhelming, if you need to turn the game off, dare I say that.
Get out. Everybody step.
I wasn't going to go there, but I was just going to say, okay, let's have a family conversation, or like do a round table. That takes therapy, or that takes you being guided to knowing how to do those type of things. But it is possible to kind of transition into the new version of what a holiday looks like for you.
Plus, I think it would depend on your family dynamic. So, like, your family dynamic might be different. Some people might have just had that mom.
Facts.
Or certain family members, the family could be separated.
Facts.
Our family's not the same makeup as we was back in the old village.
For sure.
So it's like, it depends. Your mom could have just really been like your last strand of love, or your dad, or whatever family member that you're feeling, that you're grieving about. So it does depend on your family dynamic, and you do have to find it out, is what I'm learning. Right? You got to find it out. And like with me, how I cope is I always think of the good times. Like, that helps me. Like, she always made me laugh. We was funny together. Picturing her last year, watching my wife make her potato salad.
Right.
So it's just things, even though it will make you cry, it still can make you laugh. So that's how I've been grieving. Like, they still grieving. Like, I mean, it's heavy. It was my wife's mom. It was deep. Like, she was like the, you know, like the last year old school mom. She was born in the village, and so it's just like she's still attached. She still left her legacy, but everybody's kind of at the same pace with the loss. But with me, the grieving process stems with like reminiscing, the laughs. She was like Medea. She used to love Medea. Like, so it's those things that even when I'm around those folks and my family and whatever, I try to always make them smile, bring up something that mom would have said, or so that kind of helps. But again, it's still individual.
It is.
Still hurts. I mean, it's going to hurt. But moving on is the main thing. You still have to move on. It's reality. It could be me that they grieving over, or you, and you would want your folks or your kids or whoever it is to maintain their lifestyle and to take my memories and keep living in what I taught you or my love or whatever. And that's kind of like put it in my mindset, you know, for, you know, to keep going. That's what she would have wanted. She would have wanted us to, if she would have already known what her date was or whatever the case may be, she would have wanted us to keep loving her. Like, keep loving me. I ain't going all the way.
And
I'm
she
just,
still lives to you
I'm just
all
going
every
in the
day.
physical. I'm not going in the mental and in the spirit. So it's hard though.
It is.
It's easier
It is.
said, you know, depending on the loss, but you know, it's just like that's how I feel like we got to move forward.
So it's two things that raised for me as you were sharing that. The idea of moving on, and then the thing that we don't talk about, which is the regret or the guilt. What I wish I would have done before that person's life has, you know, been lost. Because then that's where people begin to self-sabotage or beat themselves up mentally around all of the things that they lost a physical person, they had access to them, but they didn't have the space of forgiveness before they can, you know, reconcile the fact that now I don't even have the opportunity to do so. And then the move on part can also be taken as cold.
Yeah.
We do have to move on. We do have to continue. I always say breathe on schedule.
Right.
You know, because
Right.
every
I
day
like
that we
that.
wake
I like
up,
that. I like
we're
that.
breathing on schedule. And
Yeah.
if we're breathing on schedule, we have another day to serve, not only in the honor of whatever your touch in the world is, but we have an honor to serve whoever we're remembering. You know, because they're waking up with you as well. They may have woke you up at 2:00 in the morning, and you're frustrated, like, oh my God, I'm up at 2:00. But no, the reality is that's a part of the grief process, and it's the quiet time. It's the time that they can have the most focus of your attention. So begin to, I don't know if this sounds weird, but begin to just embrace the silence and conversate. What is it that you as the universe, you as the silence, want me to hear and know? Because you keep waking me up at 2:00. So it must be something that I'm missing or that you want me to pay more attention to, and really honor that, and maybe give grace to, you know, record what you're come out of that space with, write it down in a journal, because it's a collection of now how you exist in communicating moving forward. That if there is that guilt that you didn't get a chance to talk about, you could talk about that. But also if you have something that's facing you now, and that was the person that you went to talk through these different things, use that space when you're waking up at those odd times. Use those space when it's during the middle of a day and it's a moment that you pick up your phone and you go to dial that person. You're going to have a moment of the reality that, okay, I can't dial that person, but still give yourself that opportunity to have that honest conversation where, okay, if I did call them, this is what I wanted to say. And possibly in silence, without the notifications, without the radio booming, you may get some, you know, messaging from the universe, that person's spirit guiding you on what it was they would have told you if they were living on this side of the world.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So just be comfortable in the silence.
Be comfortable.
Be comfortable in the silence. I love that. Now, I feel that everyone should have a therapist because life be lifing all the time.
Listen.
But for people that don't and that may be going through grief, do you recommend grief, I guess grief therapy, is that a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing?
That depends.
How's that look?
So that really depends on the individual, because what happens in therapy is that people think that therapists have magic wands.
Fix it.
Yeah, or that we gonna just come and fix it. Like, they gonna come in, they gonna talk, and when I leave out of here, you fixed it. Like, we went shopping.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. No.
It ain't like that.
We just seasoning the meat and letting the meat marinate. When you coming in to talk, we still gotta allow it to marinate, go in the oven, cook for however long, baste it a couple times or whatever.
Flip it.
Flip it over. We gotta do a couple things to it. So the mystery about therapists is that, or therapy is a process. And so if you really want to get down to the root of your grief, that means it's an onion that has multiple layers that you got to pull back. Yeah. So on the surface, you're looking at the loss of the person, and it just happened last month, 3 months, 6 months, a year ago. Yes, all of that is valid. But to even get to the core of what you're feeling is not going to be done in one session. I can't tell you the number of sessions that it's going to take, because it depends on the style of the therapist that you're working with, as well as the accountability that you take to the process. And then the last thing is your investment in really, really doing the work.
That was good. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Mary, and coming on in your orange and black.
Listen, I knew the assignment.
She understood the assignment,
y'all.
y'all.
I'm going to 19013. Wait a second.
Just supposed to not black.
I know they don't. I used to work down here.
Thanks for coming.
I really have mad affection for Chester, because it reminds me of the area where I grew up at in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I worked here through Crozier and another agency, I was like, okay, this is home.
This is home. I'm home. Well, welcome home.
Yes.
Welcome home. Thanks for coming through.
Absolutely.
Thanks. So, just wanted to remind you all, we have an event, we are partnering with, not partnering, but we're showing up. We're going to just show up at the Self-Empowerment Symposium. It's the Self-Awareness Symposium. On Saturday, December 9th, being sponsored by Jamil Cottman's organization. It's going to be at Widener from 12 to 5. He wants to bring out young people, young adults, teenagers to talk about mental health. So there's going to be a number of therapists there talking about depression and all the things that young people are, experiencing, but they're not talking about it. So it's going to be a really good event. We'll be there doing our health educated thing. So come through Saturday, December 9th at Latham Hall for that. That'll be fun.
I'll be in the building. You can take some pics with
me. The street practitioner will be signing autographs.
Autographs.
Remember, y'all, to stay up to date on all your vaccines, including Tdap. And if you have any little ones, newborn babies, people around them should be up to date on their Tdap, and that means that they would have gotten it within the last 10 years. So make sure that you are protecting your babies from all the things for sure. But that's it. We out.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank y'all again for inviting me on.
Thanks, y'all. Check us out next week, next Thursday, 4:30, right here on cmpradio.net.